History often celebrates power through armies, weapons, and domination. But sometimes, true power appears silent, calm, and almost invisible. At the beginning of the 20th century, India was under British rule. An empire controlled millions through force, law, and economic pressure. Rebellion seemed impossible. Armed resistance had failed before. The British Empire was simply too strong. Then came a man who looked nothing like a revolutionary. No army, no weapons, no throne. Just a simple figure in plain clothes. Mahatma Gandhi. Gandhi believed something radical, that moral force could defeat physical force. He called his method Satyagraha, the power of truth and nonviolence. Too many. This idea sounded weak. Even how could refusing violence defeat an empire built on power? But Gandhi understood something deeper about systems of control. Empires do not survive only on weapons. They survive on obedience. If people stop cooperating, power begins to crack. Gandhi's resistance was not passive in the sense of weakness. It was active, disciplined, and strategic. He organized boycotts. He encouraged Indians to stop buying British goods. He promoted self-sufficiency, spinning their own cloth, making their own salt. Small acts, multiplied by millions. One of the most powerful moments came in 1930, the Salt March. Salt was heavily taxed by the British. Even the poorest Indians had to pay. Gandhi walked 240 miles to the Arabian Sea. Thousands followed, then tens of thousands, then millions. He bent down, picked up salt from the ground, and broke imperial law without raising a weapon. The world watched. British authorities responded with arrests, beatings, and prison. But Gandhi did not fight back, and that changed everything. When violence meets violence, the strong often win. But when violence meets nonviolence, something unusual happens. The legitimacy of power begins to collapse. Images of peaceful protesters beaten by soldiers spread globally. Public opinion turned. The moral balance shifted. Gandhi understood psychology, perception, and endurance. Nonviolence was not surrender, it was pressure without destruction. He was imprisoned many times. He went on hunger strikes. He accepted suffering not as weakness, but as discipline. Slowly, the British Empire realized, you can defeat an army, but you cannot defeat a population that refuses to obey. In 1947, India gained independence, but Gandhi's influence did not stop in India. His method traveled across continents. Martin Luther King Jr. used nonviolent resistance in the American Civil Rights Movement. Nelson Mandela applied similar principles in the struggle against apartheid. From Poland to South Africa, from Myanmar to the United States, Gandhi's philosophy became a global strategy. This is Gandhi's true legacy. He did not win by destroying his opponent. He won by transforming the battlefield itself. He turned weakness into leverage, silence into pressure, patience into power. And he proved one timeless truth. Power is not always loud. Sometimes, the quietest force changes history the most. Have you ever wondered how one person, armed with nothing but a spinning wheel and an unshakable belief in truth, could bring the world's mightiest empire to its knees? Today, we're diving deep into the life of Mahatma Gandhi, a man whose ideas of nonviolent resistance changed the course of history forever. Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi was born in 1869 in Porbandar, a coastal town in British India. His early life was relatively unremarkable. He was a shy, mediocre student who, following tradition, was married at the young age of 13. He later traveled to London to study law, where he struggled to fit in, trying everything from Western suits to violin lessons. But it was in South Africa, where he moved to work as a lawyer, that the seeds of the Mahatma, or Great Soul, were sown. In South Africa, Gandhi experienced firsthand the harsh reality of racial discrimination. A pivotal moment came when he was thrown off a train for refusing to move from his first-class seat, despite having a valid ticket. This incident ignited a fire within him. He spent the next 21 years in South Africa, developing and practicing his philosophy of nonviolent civil disobedience, which he called What exactly is Satyagraha? It's a Sanskrit term that translates to truth force, for Gandhi, it wasn't just passive resistance. It was an active form of love and a relentless pursuit of truth. Satyagraha sought to convert the opponent, not to defeat them. It was based on the belief that even the most hardened oppressor could be moved by the sight of voluntary and uncomplaining suffering. It required immense courage, self-discipline, and a deep faith in the power of truth. Gandhi organized the Indian community in South Africa, leading them in protests against discriminatory laws, all while adhering strictly to the principles of nonviolence, even in the face of brutal police crackdowns. When Gandhi returned to India in 1915, he was a changed man. He saw a country groaning under the weight of British rule. He spent his first year traveling across India, observing the lives of ordinary people and understanding the deep-seated issues of poverty and oppression. He shed his Western attire for a simple loincloth and shawl, identifying himself with the poorest of the poor. His leadership of the Indian independence movement was revolutionary. He didn't call for an armed uprising. Instead, he called for non-cooperation. He urged Indians to boycott British goods, British schools, and British courts. He encouraged them to spin their own cloth using a simple spinning wheel, the charkha, which became a powerful symbol of self-reliance and resistance against British economic exploitation. Perhaps the most iconic example of Satyagraha in action was the Salt March of 1930. The British had imposed a heavy tax on salt and made it illegal for Indians to produce or sell it themselves. Salt was a basic necessity for everyone, so this tax hit the poorest Indians the hardest. To protest this unjust law, Gandhi decided to march. On March 12, 1930, a 61-year-old Gandhi set out from his ashram with 78 followers on a 240-mile journey to the coastal village of Dandi. The march took 24 days. As he walked, his small band of followers swelled into a crowd of thousands. The world's media followed every step. When he finally reached the sea, Gandhi bent down and picked up a lump of salty mud, declaring, "With this, I am shaking the foundations of the British Empire." This simple act was a direct challenge to British authority. Across India, millions of people followed his lead, making their own salt in defiance of the law. The British response was swift and brutal. Over 60,000 people, including Gandhi himself, were arrested. The prisons were overflowing. One of the most horrifying episodes occurred at the Darasana salt works, where protesters marched peacefully towards the salt pans, only to be met with severe beatings from police. Yet, they did not fight back. Wave after wave of volunteers walked forward to be struck down, demonstrating the incredible power and discipline of Satyagraha. Gandhi spent a total of several years in prison throughout his life. For him, prison was not a punishment but a place for reflection, writing, and spiritual growth. He used his time behind bars to spin cloth, write letters, and continue his study of religious texts. His imprisonments often had the unintended effect of making him an even more powerful symbol of resistance, turning him into a martyr in the eyes of his people and the world. The more the British tried to silence him, the louder his message became. The Salt March and the subsequent non-cooperation movements had a profound impact. They didn't win India's independence overnight, but they did something arguably more important. They broke the moral authority of the British Empire. They exposed the injustice of colonial rule to the entire world, and demonstrated that Indians would no longer passively accept it. The movement galvanized the Indian people, uniting them in a common cause, and instilling in them a sense of pride and power. For the British, governing a nation of millions who refused to cooperate became an increasingly impossible task. Finally, in 1947, after decades of struggle, India achieved independence. But it was a bittersweet victory. The country was partitioned into India and Pakistan, leading to widespread violence and the displacement of millions. Gandhi was heartbroken. He had fought for a united, peaceful India. He undertook fasts to the point of death to plead for an end to the religious violence. Tragically, in 1948, he was assassinated by a Hindu nationalist who opposed his message of tolerance and unity. But Gandhi's legacy did not die with him. His philosophy of nonviolent resistance echoed across the globe, inspiring some of the most important movements for justice in the 20th century. In the United States, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. studied Gandhi's methods extensively. He applied the principles of Satyagraha to the civil rights movement, organizing bus boycotts, sit-ins, and marches like the famous March on Washington. King often spoke of Gandhi as the guiding light of his technique of non-violent social change. In South Africa, the very country where Gandhi first developed his philosophy, Nelson Mandela and the African National Congress were also inspired by his early campaigns. While the ANC later adopted armed struggle, Mandela, after his release from 27 years in prison, championed a path of reconciliation and peace, echoing Gandhi's spirit of forgiveness and unity. Gandhi's life is a testament to the idea that one person's conviction can indeed change the world. He showed us that the most powerful weapons are not guns and bombs, but courage, truth, and love. His message reminds us that true strength lies not in inflicting pain, but in our ability to endure it for a just cause. It's a lesson that is as relevant today as it was a century ago. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this story as inspiring as I do, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Let us know in the comments which historical figure you'd like us to explore next. See you in the next video.